First of all, I'm Joshua Van Orden. I work with Oceanside Therapy Group, and obviously part of the board, and fortunate enough to chair this meeting. So thank you for having me. And I'm going to turn it over to Kristi.
Good morning, I'm Kristi Hawthorne. I'm the Director of Events and the Military Affairs Forum here. So good morning.
Emerald.
Emerald Lowe, I'm the Membership Director here for the Oceanside Chamber, and good morning.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lori from Vance. I just want to thank everybody for participation in the food distribution.
Excellent, excellent. We have no video of Bob, but Bob, if you want to unmute yourself and say hello.
Hello, this is Bob.
Good morning, sir. And the USO is joining us this morning. Say hello.
Yeah, this is Joe Ashby. I'm with the Ocean Hills Village Veterans and also with the Veterans Writing Group of San Diego. And good morning to you and everyone else.
Excellent. Excellent.
Well, this is Rudy Van Hunnick. I'm in, as you know, in 10 different volunteer organizations. And I just wondering how many are playing this game today.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, sir?
Good morning, Josh. Everyone, hey, great forum. Thanks to you and Kristi for setting this up. I think I've met most over the last year or two, but Colonel Phil Antekeier, I'm here at Camp Pendleton, so I am the Oceanside Chamber military rep for Pendleton. So here for the next couple months, and after we do roll call, I've got kind of a quick wave top updates on how we're doing at Camp Pendleton. So happy to see everyone, and hopefully we'll see everyone in person soon.
Excellent. Good morning, USO. How are you today?
Tracy tgenica. I'm with USO Camp Pendleton. I'm the programs manager, so it's good to see everyone's face, and I'm going to give a quick update on some of the things we're doing in light of COVID-19.
Hey, I'm Garry Garretson. I live in Vista. I'm a member of the Vista Chamber of Commerce, the North San Diego Business Chamber and Veterans Affairs, and I'm a Vietnam combat veteran.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your service, sir, and thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to jump right into it, guys. We're going to start with the Colonel and give him some time. So at this time, the Chamber will be muting everybody, and so we don't interrupt the Colonel by accident.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Good morning again. So Kristi asked if I could kind of give an update where we stand as it relates to COVID and everything from Camp Pendleton. So I wanted to start from headquarters Marine Corps and then work our way down to Camp Pendleton and what our organization does and how things have changed over the last couple months. And again, as always, when I talk with the Oceanside Chamber and the Military Affairs Committee, I know we've got a great range of experience and background, so I don't want to insult anyone, but I'll try and hit wave tops. And at the end, definitely open to any questions. And then as well, I threw my email out there in chat if anyone wants to follow up. So from the top, from the Commandant of the Marine Corps over the last 2 months, and the guidance we've gotten is that as a Marine Corps, we'll continue to maintain our operational readiness. At the same time, we'll preserve the force. So we're working that balance. So we continue to do what we do to meet the global requirements, the deployments that we've always done working with the Navy. But at the same time, we need to preserve the force, which means keep all of our Marines and sailors and civilian Marines at Camp Pendleton healthy. So a lot of, I'll cover material that's out there in the news, but one thing that's impacted us then is that Secretary of Defense has issued stop move. So for any Marines that have permanent change of station orders over the next couple months, that has been stopped until the 30th of June. What that does for us is it shifts the summer rotation cycle. So normally we start moving Marines and their families in May, June, July, August. So that'll push everything to the right a little bit. So we're working through that. There are exceptions to that for key personnel that can still do permanent change of station moves. What is still authorized in the near term are retirements and separations. So we continue to process Marines that are separating out of the Marine Corps from Camp Pendleton, which is a big task, and we have to do that safely. The good news is for Marines, there are extensions that are authorized. So even at the local level or at the colonel level, we can authorize extensions for Marines for a few months. So the good news there is Marines that were separating in the spring and early summer, and they look at an uncertain job market, we're able to authorize them a few additional months for our first term Marines, and then they can still even request a 1-year extension. So that is helpful in a way that we're taking care of the Marines and their families. One specific case, just very close in our office, we had a corporal who had reached the end of his 4-year service in March. All set, positive service. He and his family were headed back, actually went to Texas to start a job and start training at a police academy. When he got there, his seat and the police academy had shut down. He was still on terminal leave. He contacted us and came right back, and we were able to grant him an extension. So he went from separating from the Marine Corps, being on terminal leave, to now being on active duty for a few more months with a 1-year extension. So we're doing things like that to continue to take care of the Marines and their families. Everything else continues in the Marine Corps with promotions and deployments. One interesting thing, though, for our Marines is this is the first time in as long as I've been in that the physical fitness test, which is normally done in the first half of the calendar year, has been suspended or no longer required. So that's quite a change. Same time, we want our Marines to continue to work out and be physically fit, but balancing that while maintaining social distancing. So moving down specifically to Camp Pendleton, we continue to train Marines and sailors. Recruit training, boot camp continues. They have the quarantine requirements for Marines going into Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, but then they now are coming straight up to Camp Pendleton for follow-on training. So if you look, the Marines are continuing to prepare for deployment, whether that's going out on ship with the Navy or going over to the Middle East or wherever they're at. So how do we balance that while preserving the force? That's kind of the challenge. It's interesting. The Commanding General of Marine Corps Installations West, General Conley, and Sergeant Major Hackett hosted a series of Facebook Live town hall meetings from March through April. And watching those, it really was a good example of how we're trying to balance the force and the requirements. Because for every topic that they had a question on, whether it was hours at the exchange or commissary, training opportunities, teleworking, social distancing, the responses and questions were really polarized or represented both sides. So I think the theme for us is really that balance of preserving the force and continuing our mission. So you'll see for those who come on Camp Pendleton, Marines, sailors, civilian Marines adhering to social distancing, face masks. The services are still open, and I wanted to put that out. Back in January, we had Marine Corps Community Services, Anthony Cisneros and Scott Pyle come and talk to the Military Affairs Committee. And just from their perspective, MCCS is still wide open, ready to engage. If there's members of the Chamber or the Military Affairs Committee that want to talk, they are working. They're there, services at Camp Pendleton, obviously USO. But as far as MCCS, things are open and continuing. And little by little, they're increasing. For those who are able to access the base, you'll see, the beaches at Del Mar and San Onofre are slowly reopening. We are still at the main gates. If you want to escort a guest on, you're still able to do that. Some bases nationwide have shut down that visitor program, but Camp Pendleton, it remains open. You look at all the precautions taken at the commissary with 100% ID check, but hand wash station. So we're doing everything we can. And again, that balance of continuing service. Even the golf course is now opened up this week. Swimming pools, fitness centers, limited, have opened safely. The chapel services at Marine Memorial Chapel have gone virtual. Chaplain reported that they now have more attendees virtually than in person. So that's good. So specifically for headquarters support battalion for my battalion here at Marine Corps Installations West. So we still have our 1,100 Marines and sailors and civilian Marines taking care of everything needed to keep Camp Pendleton running. So that's the administrative, the legal, the postal, all the training ranges. So we're doing that. And again, the balance of having as many Marines as we can and civilian Marines telework or do rotational shifts. So our administrators will have a morning shift and evening shift. We'll have separation. We have area guard force that'll do turnover with a break in between, so you don't have large groups mixing. Good news, and we've progressed. This has helped us out from a big picture in Marine Corps with increases in our information technology, our ability to support a lot of teleworkers. So that's just bandwidth increase, virtual private network support for a lot of Marines that are working from home. So one of the things we specifically do at our battalion is we assist in the Marines that are out processing from overseas. We get all of the Marines that are coming from Okinawa or Iwakuni or from Marine Security Guard units at the embassies, and they will come through us to out process before they go to their home of record. As part of the Secretary of Defense requirement is whenever they come back from overseas, they have to have a restriction of movement for 14 days. So this is new for us over the last 2 months. Now we're hosting, whether it's 20, 30, 40 Marines for 2 weeks as they prepare to exit the Marine Corps safely. The other impact for Marines locally is that we have an update on our leave and liberty policies. So Marines can't just take leave anymore and go wherever they want. They can take leave back to their residence. If they're going to go on liberty overnight or a weekend for anything outside of what would be their home or for essential services, they have to request at a higher level. So now it's the colonel or the general who's going to say, yes, you're authorized to go here or to go on emergency leave back to visit family. So there's some changes. For the team, and I think Josh and Kristi are tracking, but I am set to wrap up at the end of July and turn over to the new commanding officer, and that'll be Colonel Dan Whitley coming in last week in July. So like I said before, hopefully I'll have a chance to see everyone in person, either at Oceanside board meeting or the next military affairs. I would love to be there in person and do an introduction of my replacement. So those are the wave tops, but happy to take any questions. Thanks so much.
I do have a question, please. The VA on the base closed, I mean, week 1, so it's been over, but 9 weeks now that they've been closed, and we kept our VSO available to the active duty, and he's been really, really hit hard. What do we have any word when they're going to be opening back up on base?
Lori, good question. So for the VA reps, talking to Marines that are getting out and need to do their VA processing. So I've heard very positive things as far as being able to communicate and work remotely and send over their medical or their documents for review, but I don't have a specific date. Same thing like for Marine Corps Community Services, transition readiness courses. That's been a big topic because every week we look at over 200 Marines or sailors that are transitioning out of Camp Pendleton. There's a week-long transition course, and that stopped in early March. So we've gone virtual on that. But like the VA, that's a critical service that we need to get restarted. But right now, we don't have a date specific, Lori.
Okay, yeah, because the paperwork is really intense. It's not something they can do online on their own, really.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Colonel, this is Joe Ashby. What I was wondering about, I noticed that the thrift shop obviously closed, but thinking even the drop off and so on is all taped off and there's no access to that. Has that changed?
Joe, good question. So that's for the thrift shop and the drop off and the down towards Lake O'Neill. So they had to close it off. Unfortunately, folks were contributions continued, and we're starting to stack up without personnel on hand from Navy Marine Corps Relief Society to process all of that. So that, for now, at least, is still shut down.
Phil, can you hear me?
Yes, Rudy. Great to
Oh,
see you.
okay. I'm just going to say, with the terrible, stupid virus, we'll miss your big party when you retire.
Yes, no, and great. Yeah, kind of the topic of the week too is retirement ceremonies and changes of command and different guidance. So great point. So right now, even for my own retirement or change of command, we're looking at, you know, the very small, like, you know, 3-4 people with the general doing the change of command, or if things change, then opening it up. What we've done over the last month is to do something for those who are retiring. We have very limited number of people, 10 or less, but we'll still get in uniform, read the retirement certificates. And we have family members participating via Facebook. So we did one for a chief warrant officer who was retiring, and we had her mother and her sister, 2 different FaceTime calls held by Marines, and we all had dress blue face masks on. So it was appropriate social distancing, but definitely a different Marine Corps.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say thank you, the commissary and everything there on Main Side. Very nice setup, very quick. I know today is old folks early in for the commissary, which we usually take part, my husband and I. So it just is a very smooth process. So please reach out to them and tell them thank you. They're doing a great job.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathy. And I tell you, on Marine Corps Community Services and DECA for the commissary, but Anthony Cisneros, Scott Pyle, and the team, they are everywhere as far as trying to make things best as can be for everyone on Camp Pendleton. So thanks for that.
Colonel, this is Joe Ashby again, and again, we're going to miss you. But one of the things with our veteran writers group, because I've been distributing books out there to the library, and I was so impressed by the library services. But I was wondering what has happened with the library. Are they open, or will they open, or what kind of services do they provide now?
Joe, for right now, to the best of my knowledge, so the library is closed, but this kind of changes day by day as far as what services are open. So there's a Camp Pendleton website, and actually I looked at it before I came on to kind of see what the changes are, because we have multiple libraries across base, as well as the mobile bookmobile that travels to the housing areas. So not open right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if that slowly gets restarted.
Well, thank you very much, Colonel. Obviously, we all appreciate what you're doing, and especially that story that you shared with your personnel going to Texas and actually coming back. That's just amazing. Thank you very much for that. And like you said, I'm sure all of us hope to see you in person, maybe even shake your hand one more time. So, but you are staying local in Oceanside, correct?
I am, Josh. Yep. We're excited. Family, we're going to stay here and call San Diego home for a while.
Excellent. So, Rudy, we may get that party eventually anyway. Okay.
It's always available for your party. You know that, Bill.
Thanks, Larry.
All righty, guys. Well, thanks, Colonel. At this time, we're going to turn it over to Tracy at the USO.
Thank you for having us on for your meeting today. I just want to give an update about what's going on with us at the USO and how we're still supporting our Marines and sailors on Camp Pendleton. Our center closed pretty early on, so we are not open at the center, but we are doing both programming and Pathfinder services still. One of the ways, the major ways that we're supporting is those Marines and sailors that are on a restriction of movement. So we have a special COVID-19 request form for those particular cases. And we have been mostly supporting with snacks, drinks, toiletry items, because from what I hear, they're not always able to get like a full toiletry kit before they're put into the barracks, and then games. So we have been giving away some different board games, puzzles. For those that are just in a barracks room alone or with someone else, we've been giving things like playing cards and stuff like that. So we've served about 2,500 with those requests so far, and we're anticipating a lot more because just as the Colonel had mentioned, as they're coming and going, they're being put onto that restriction of movement for 14 days, and it's kind of a long time for them just to be in one place. So we're trying to build morale in that way. Recently, we actually had a request for to bring popsicles out to some of our guys in restriction of movement. So that was kind of fun. We actually sat in the back of our Jeep with a few hundred popsicles and threw them 6 feet away so that we were maintaining our social distancing properly with our masks on. But I would just ask them what kind they wanted and throw them. Don't worry, I used to be a pitcher in softball, so I have a pretty good arm, and nothing went on the ground or anything like that. We have started to get some other requests that look a little different. So not only are we continuing to get those requests, we're getting some for gym equipment, as well as just morale building in general. So we're looking at maybe kind of changing some of the options that we're offering for that. But San Diego has been helping us out a lot, the USO down there, and they've been shipping to us pallets and pallets of product to keep these guys busy and snacking and having some fun while they're restricted. The other thing that we're doing is we are still doing programming. So if any of you guys are familiar with what we used to do a lot, we do a lot of spouse and family programming at Camp Pendleton because we have so many families on the installation. And so we were thinking, like, how can we still do this? So we implemented drive-through programming. We've been doing activity bags quite a bit, at least one every 2 weeks. So those are family focused and they have different themes. So we did one for May the 4th for Star Wars. We did a nature one with some planting stuff. We did an Easter one, and those are very, very popular. We're doing about 300 bags a week when we do those. And so they have a lot of different activities. They have an extension sheet in them that gives parents more activities to do with their kids. And they're mostly focused on the 4 to 12-year-old range, which are the kids that normally are at school throughout the day. So those have been really popular. We can hardly keep up with that. And they've been a lot of fun to develop as well. And the kids are having a lot of fun. The parents are sending us photos and tagging us on their posts and everything. So that's been a lot of fun building those out. Something we started doing recently was drive-through dinners. So the Garry Sinise Foundation actually has been helping us out with covering the cost of that. And we've been working with some of our local pizza places to get some of the DIY pizza kits. We did one of these with Blade 1936 already. And then we're doing one with Fat Joe's Pizza on this Friday. So that's been really cool because not only are we trying to help support our local businesses, we're providing a service in a way for people to kind of get out and do something. And I like that they're the DIY kits because it also gives the family an activity to do. So those have been really popular as well. When we put out these registration links, they're filling up in about anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. And so these are anywhere from 100 to 300 spots filling up that quickly. So there's definitely a demand for this type of programming. Also, we're doing a lot of virtual stuff across the USO. So us locally, we're not doing as much because all of these drive-thrus are keeping us really busy. Not all USOs are able to still operate on their installations like we are. So we're really lucky that we're still able to do that. We've done things like one of our Marines does really amazing magic tricks. So he's doing a Magic Monday for us, these little videos where kids can try and learn a magic trick. We've done some story times. Doing some couples workshops using Stronger Families, who's a partner of the USO. So we've been doing those weekly as well. And we're also utilizing other virtual programming from other USOs. So Bob Hope USO is doing a really cool scavenger hunt with kids, and we've been sharing that for yet another thing for the kids at home to do, and hopefully giving the parents a break for an hour or two when they're busy. I've seen dance classes from other USOs. All kinds of really cool innovation is coming out of this pandemic. So hopefully we'll continue to use some of these best practices in the future. Also, as the USO has an entertainment branch, they've been getting some really cool stuff. Some of our talent is signing on. So we had a big cooking class with Martha Stewart fairly recently, and some things like that are coming out, which are pretty cool for the families to enjoy as well. That's kind of what we're doing for programming right now. And of course that can change. If anyone has ideas or sees a need, of course, we can try to help fill that if it's in our purview. Also, our Pathfinder team is doing a lot virtually as well. So if those of you are not familiar, our Pathfinder team supports our service members that are transitioning and then spouses looking for employment as well. And they complement the MCCS programs that are in existence and work with them. So they're doing cities and coffee every Tuesday at 11:30. It's kind of an online coffee chat. It's what they were basically doing in person before every Tuesday with our TRS students. Who are conveniently located right by the USO. So they would come by, give them coffee, and talk about the Pathfinder program. They had just started up that program, is going really well. So now we're trying to do it online, and they tried a few different formats, so they're building up on that. They're also working with a lot of our community partners to provide different workshops virtually. So they're doing things like, they have a VA home loan one that they've done. They've done a spouse employment readiness workshop, and they're partnering with some of our other folks on base to do some of this stuff as well. They just started doing a really cool newsletter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put KT, he's our program manager for the Pathfinder program. I'm going to put his email in there. So if you want to be added to that new newsletter, that they're really proud of it, it looks really good. I'm going to put his email out there for you so you can see that as well. So I think that's mostly what I wanted to cover. I wrote notes and then I didn't even look at them, so I might have forgotten something. But does anyone have any questions for me or want to get involved possibly in anything that we're doing?
Tracy, this is Garry Garretson. I had the opportunity to attend one of the virtual seminars with Pathfinders yesterday, and it was on how to work a virtual career fair. And it was very, very good. And they have one coming up on how to do LinkedIn in terms of job search. So I work with several veterans groups in transition. So I like to keep updated on those things. And the Pathfinders did an absolutely terrific job.
Well, that's great to hear. I will definitely pass that feedback on to them. They work really hard and they're still taking on a lot of cases. So I'm really proud of the things that they've accomplished as a team.
I just had one question for you. It's Emerald from the Chamber. I'm just wondering if you're hearing from military families if they're in need of, you know, PPE, masks, or anything like that as they're going out shopping, or, you know, even just some more ideas for activities. Just looking for how we can support them.
So I haven't heard that much from military families. We have provided quite a few masks to the hospital who has requested that from us. So we've actually worked with other groups and nonprofits, and they've been mailing us some pretty cool masks that we've been distributing. I have seen other USOs doing like DIY mask kit giveaways. So I think something like that would be much appreciated by some of the families. People like me, I'm out and about a lot. I use a lot of different masks because I have to keep them in the wash rotation. So especially for those working spouses that are out and about quite a bit, I'm sure they could use some masks. And that's something that if anyone was interested, we could incorporate those into our giveaways as well. Because for each one of those, like I said, it's 100 to 300 different whole family units that are driving through to receive items.
All right, thank you for that.
I was going to give Fernando an opportunity to update us on anything that he has going on.
Oh, thanks, Josh. So just some quick updates on the state legislature. The assembly member went back to session this last Monday. And essentially the legislature's focus now is to focus on economic recovery and respond to the issues that have been stemming from the pandemic. During her time in the district, the assembly member's been active in the community and really focusing on the dialogue of economic recovery. She's been an active participant in the Oceanside Economic Recovery Task Force, and she's been interviewing economists throughout the state to get feedback for the legislature to use as they move forward on legislation and as they look at the budget to make their priorities. On another note, she will be hosting a workshop tomorrow morning for restaurants in our district. And this workshop is essentially going to focus on helping our restaurants understand the changing regulatory landscape, you know, as we move forward with the stay-at-home orders and as industries start opening up slowly. And also to provide different ideas and start the dialogue on adapting to this regulatory environment. So we're going to have Dr. Carolyn Smith from the County of San Diego, who's been the head of the county's response, as well as a representative from the California Restaurant Association. They've been doing a lot of work at creating a blueprint for different restaurants on how to reopen safely, so able to provide that feedback. And as well from a local marketing consultant, her name is Cindy Darlington, and she's had a long career in marketing and consulting for restaurants. So she has a lot of feedback and things that she's seen been implemented in different restaurants, and she wants to be able to share that with our restaurants. And the Chamber has shared this event on their Facebook page and in their newsletter, so please feel free to let restaurant owners in your network that reside in our district know about this workshop, and they can register on that event page. And if you guys have any further questions or have any information you would like to share to the assembly member, please feel free to reach out to me via email.
Excellent. Thank you, Fernando. Really quick before we move on, I was going to turn it over to Gabby to see if we can get an update as well.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to give a couple updates on what's going on in the federal government. Currently, in regards to this group, in the HEROES Act, the congressman has pushed through the SCRA, which is a Civil Service Relief Act. And so that is going to allow service members to terminate the lease due to the PCS stop movement. And so that will take place. So they pay their initial deposit, and 30 days after, they do have to give their landlord that information and that update. And so with the next billing date, they will be able to cancel that lease. So I know that a lot of service members will start looking for relief in regards to that initial deposit. And so that's what we've been hearing a lot from service members. But we also had to keep in mind that landlords would also be suffering in the event that they were to take that initial deposit back. And so that's something we kept in mind. If you would like to read about veterans and service members in the HEROES Act, that starts on page 796 out of the 1875 page bill. And so you can go straight to veterans, and that'll talk about the $300 million that has been set aside for homeless veterans. So directors will be able to immediately serve homeless veterans with food and shelter. On top of that, we've been working really closely with Blue Star Families in regards to our Camp Pendleton family members that are currently in that PCS stop movement issue. On top of that, we're also working on employment resources. We've been hearing a lot of spouses who are losing their jobs that they had set up at their next duty station. And so we're going to be assisting that and creating some resources, a resource page where particularly veterans and spouses will be able to kind of benefit from that, but also just civilians as well, because we're not doing so great in the employment section. On top of that, I believe that's it. Oh, and just in regards to the stimulus checks, IRS currently isn't doing a lot of deep diving, only in the event that you visited the portal. The portal says that you should be expecting it. And if you haven't heard anything in the last 30 days, in which case we can then create a case on your behalf, contact the IRS and say, hey, what's going on? We got an update saying we should receive our check, and it's been 30 days, we haven't yet. In regards to the next stimulus package, we are expecting $1,200 for each family member, and that includes individuals who are 24, considered dependents, and younger. And so if you have any questions or concerns, I'll put my email in the chat box, and you'll be able to send anyone my way or contact me if you have any personal concerns. And that's it.
Excellent, ma'am. Thank you very much. Before we move on, I want to make sure that I'm not missing any other representatives from any elected officials. We've got a lot of names and no videos, so I'm just trying to catch up. Any other updates from elected officials? Okay. If not, I think it's a good time to turn it over to any announcements that you guys may have, if we can kind of limit it to maybe 60 seconds or so. But if anybody has any updates, Kathy, we'll start with you. Oh, you're on mute, Kathy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
So I kind of announced it earlier, but we have canceled the Oceanside Independence Parade, which was scheduled for June 27th. We are reopening the farmers market next Thursday, May 21st. Our Sunset Market operations are suspended at this time until we see what happens, because we're kind of phase 4. We're used to seeing between 2,500 and 7,000 people on Thursday nights, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. And then for my nonprofit, Oceanside Dia de los Muertos, we have rescheduled the 20th annual to next year, but we will be doing a virtual event in October and working with our flower company and our Dead Bread and those other community partners so that individuals who want to do their altars and everything can do that at home and still be able to get stuff. So more information next time we get together. That's it.
Excellent. Anybody else by raise of hand would like to give us an update? All right, Gary. Go ahead. There we go.
Yes, I just wanted to announce in conjunction with the Veterans Writing Group and the Oceanside Library on the 22nd, we're going to be hosting an interview with the 2 authors who wrote the book Indianapolis. And that's going to be a live virtual process. And I would be happy to send you the flyer if you haven't received it from the Oceanside Library. But the Indianapolis, for those who don't know, was a ship that took the atomic weapon from California to Tinian before it was dropped on Hiroshima. And right after that, the ship was torpedoed, and out of 1,100, 800 perished. So these are the 2 authors. They're both local authors, so we're looking forward to that. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, sir. All right, Lori.
And I put it into the chat, but I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware that peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter. I'm telling you, we have had an overwhelming request from active duty and veteran community with families wanting peanut butter at the food distributions. We're giving lots of fruits and vegetables away, toiletries, all kinds of other things, but peanut butter has hit us hard. And unfortunately, the peanut butter is not available by the food bank for us. So we just need to provide that on our own. So please consider dropping off a jar or 2 of peanut butter. Our next registration is June 12th is our distribution next. And we already have well over 200 people, families that have already registered for that. So please think that for us. Appreciate it.
Excellent, excellent. We do have a couple people that have phoned in. I'm going to pause for a second and see if they have any updates they would like to share.
Hi, Josh. This is Shayna from Supervisor Desmond's office. I was on mute. Sorry.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Hello. Just want to let everyone know that our office is up and running. You can email us. You can call us. I'll leave my information in the chat. If you have any particular questions, you're welcome to ask. We've been very busy, obviously, with all the COVID efforts and then now the economy, restarting the economy and navigating all of that. Military, obviously, if there's needs, I know, Lori, we're promoting the peanut butter and we've sent it out to other people too to help.
Excellent. Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm looking for hands at this point. Anybody else have an update for us?
Off, I want to say all the best for all these people I met over the years. Hope we come all through it, this terrible period. And I, all the best I said, but especially for Colonel Phil. I wish him, he was so interesting always and fine man. And it's a pity that the Marines will miss him, but I wish him all the best. Okay.
Thank you very much, Rudy. I appreciate that. And all the best to you and family as well.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I don't want to leave anybody else. Everybody help me. I'm not seeing any more hands. So at this time, Kristi, I don't know if you want to mention the website.
a virtual Plates for 8 coming up on May 20th. So if you want to participate in that, I think everybody's getting the hang of Zoom. You know, we're just doing things different way. We're adapting and overcome like Marines have to do. So if you want to join in, you can contact Emerald. Again, that's a virtual Plates for 8 on May 20th. You can go to the website Oceanside Chamber. We're also having a virtual business mixer on May 28th, and that's going to be powered by or sponsored by Brookdale. So again, we can't wait for the day that we can all come together and we can do business as usual. We don't know how long or when that's going to be, but until then, I think this has gone very smoothly. So I really appreciate everyone logging in, and you know, I think this has been great. It's not the best as meeting in person, but it's gone very smoothly. So I want to thank you for Emerald for monitoring this, and for Josh for taking the lead.
Well, thank you very much, Kristi and the Chamber staff. They just tell me where to be and what to say. So thank you very much to them for always facilitating this stuff and getting us all together. If nobody else has anything of interest to the Chamber or the community, I think at this time we'll go ahead and conclude the meeting.
Yeah. And our next, I'm sorry, Josh, but our next military affairs would be on July 9th. And of course, it remains to be seen whether we'll be doing it Zoom again or we'll be able to actually meet in person. But either way, we're going to hold another meeting on July 9th. Excellent. Thank you so much, Kristi. All righty, guys. Well, have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Stay healthy and stay happy, okay?
Thank you.
Bye-bye.